Welcome to the You World Order Showcase podcast, where we feature life, health, and transformational coaches being the change they seek in the world. If you'd like to be featured on our podcast to share what you're contributing to making the world a better place for us all, please go to www.jointheyouworldorder.com. Be sure to like and follow our podcast for the latest episodes. Hi, and welcome to the You World Order Showcase podcast. I'm your host, Jill Hart, and with us today is Jewel Veitch. Jewel is a spiritual guide, an intuitive business mentor, podcast host, and best-selling author who guides spiritual entrepreneurs, founders, and visionary leaders of multiple six-plus figure enterprises to elevate their impact on the planet through their combined expertise and intuitive gifts. She teaches creative visionary entrepreneurs a unique heart language healing technology that allows you to organically self-heal what is preventing your forward movement in your soul-led business. Welcome to the show, Jewel. It's really great to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Jill.
So how did you get started?
Oh, I got started. I was a career advisor consultant for the government for 20 years, and I assisted people in career exploration journeys and to start small businesses. And every time I worked with people, I was always taken into the spiritual realm with them, because that was in fact my come from place. It has been for over 20 years.
Mhm.
And tuning into their heart and really tuning into the signature gifts that they held and hold inside of them to be able to create businesses and, move out of the 9 to 5 into self-employment. And I moved from that to becoming a self-employed myself, became an entrepreneur, and have done everything that I lead people to do within myself on my own journey of spirituality and business development, which I feel entrepreneurship is probably the greatest spiritual journey that one can ever undertake. So
It's the one that gives the most back to the world. It's like we're all here with a gift, and entrepreneurship is just like the package that you deliver your gift to the world in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So tell us about what you're doing in terms of actually coaching people. You work with six-figure enterprises, and like, how does that look?
How that looks is that those who come to me have gained a certain level of success. And I say that in quote unquote success, because the definition of success can be very different for different people. And oftentimes people have realized a certain level of monetary success, but find themselves still feeling empty, still feeling like there's a void, still feeling like there's a missing link. And it's inside of the missing link that when we dive into, there comes to be this congruence between the work in the world that people are doing, the gifts that they're bringing forward, the messaging that they're bringing forward, the offers, and the what it is that they're bringing in support and in service of a better planet. And there comes this congruence between the practical and the business and the soul. And oftentimes that's such a big gap for people, where it's kind of easy for some people to really lean into the strategy and really lean into the formulaic ways of doing business and really achieving success. However, that soul piece is missing, and they don't know how to find the intersection between the two. And that's really my genius, is bridging between that human practicality and the higher intelligence and soul intelligence, and bringing those two things together. And that's what I've done for myself. And when a person does that for themselves, there is this newly found sense of absolute freedom and internal freedom and sense of joy and sense of equanimity within that, that creates a space where there isn't something missing all the time. So, I teach different skills, and through my heart language modality, which has expanded into the heart expansion method. And that's what it is that I've developed for myself, is to come back to heart over and over and over again. And those aren't just words. What we work with are the power inside of the words, the power inside of this heart communication, whereby when you talk to yourself as an entrepreneur about what you're doing, where you're heading, where you're going, and all of those, all of the inner chatter in the background is saying, yeah, but you can use these skills to come back to your heart language and really come into a place where you're communicating what you do in a very pristine and clear way. And you feel it. You can feel the power of how you're communicating with yourself, because truly the way that we talk to ourselves dictates the quality of our lives. And this is mainstream mindset knowledge. And how do we move beyond the mindset and into the heart and really access the wisdom and the language that the heart speaks? So that's really that's where the greatest results lie for us as entrepreneurs.
That's very interesting. And when we think of it in terms of, body, mind, and spirit being connected, and we, as entrepreneurs, it's really easy to get into your head and stay in your head. There's things that you're supposed to do, and you have to follow these certain patterns in order to get a specific result. And you can start down that path, but you'll often find that it doesn't feel right. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a feeling, we both deal with coaches all the time. So we understand that there's a feeling that you get rather than just the doing. And it often shows up as anxiety in entrepreneurs, and they sometimes they don't even know why they're so anxious. They could be doing good by, normal business standards, but they're just feeling like there's something missing. And if you can't get back down into the body and into your heart and really feel what your body is telling you to kind of guide you, is that sort of where your
Mm-hmm.
heart language healing is going?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And these fear-based conditioned thoughts around what success is, we
Mhm.
really need to redefine that for ourselves in internally. Thoughts around, expectations that are self-imposed, and what I should be doing, and the milestones I should be reaching. And now that I have, how come I'm still not fulfilled? And all of these are fear-based thoughts that occur in the thinking and the mental plane, and you can't think and feel at the same time. And so we really, this is a method of really dropping from the head into the heart in a way that is so it's so visceral in the body, so that because what ends up happening is that we're taught, there's been a lot of teaching around positive affirmations and shifting to better thoughts, and law of attraction teaches this.
Mhm.
And the problem is that your body doesn't believe you. And so there's this split energy that's occurring inside, where you're thinking great thoughts. And because we live in an attractive universe, indeed, it is a universal law where, yeah, we're seeing things happen, and we're manifesting, and we're drawing things towards ourselves. But the disconnect is that the body still hasn't caught up. It doesn't believe you. There's no congruence. So that to get into our heart, which is a physical organ, of perception in our body that exists not only in our body, but also in the body of Mother Earth and in the universal, there's a universal heartbeat that we're connected to that's constantly synchronizing with us until we can experience that physically in our body and feel the heart these are the heart keys, the heart qualities that are really, really aligned with who we are as already whole, resourceful beings. Then there's a disconnect between the truth of that and the misguided and distorted thoughts that continue to direct the show. And when we can move beyond the mental plane, we start to create differently, because when you're creating from the mental plane and just the logical thinking alone, that's very linear, and there's a cap, there's a limited amount that you can create, because you're creating based on what already exists, based on what your mental capacity can absorb. But when you drop straight into the heart realm, that is the realm of the quantum possibility and potential that exists beyond what your brain can understand, what is possible. So that's when we begin to create into the infinite field of what is possible to create. And, I could talk about this forever. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah.
So, we're created, we are physical beings that are here to create, and the creative life force energy that moves through us is really the optimum feeling. That's when you feel the optimum in yourself. You feel congruent, you feel aligned, you feel totally centered, because the creative life force is moving through, right? Through your expression, through your artistry, through your the gifts that you're in service to in the world. And when that creative flow is interrupted by the fear-based thinking, then there's that disconnect. And when it's not interrupted, and when you're fully activated in your heart, you can create worlds, you can create massive, massive, opportunities for yourself and for others, and you can create massive impact. And the sky is the limit, because you're creating from a place that you can't touch, and you're not thinking, you're not relegated to the thinking capacity. You're bringing mind and heart together in a very coherent way in the body, which is circling back to your comment about bringing mind, heart, and body together. So the question is always, well, what does that mean? How do you do that? The heart is the portal.
I, I'm having all these thoughts running through my head. And one of them is that we are expressions of God or source or whatever. And as we move from our head, which our head is like a computer program. It's not our consciousness per se. It may drive it, but it's really our heart is where all of the intuition and the outpouring of what we're taking in as part of source, because it's a stream. It's not a static thing. And it's constantly moving, and it's an energy wave, a frequency that runs through us. And when we're open to letting it all just like come through and then out, because it's designed to flow out, our gifts can be shared in a way that they're meant to be shared, not getting stuck in our head and then coming out of our mouths or our hands and getting caught up in the doing, rather than in the being of letting whatever we're putting out, which is ultimately a download, because that's what we're here to do, is to be an expression of source in the world. that those are our gifts. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. That's so
that's where I
well
was.
articulated, and there's a couple things here is that yes, we are conduits, messengers for these
Mhm.
divine downloads, for this wisdom that pulsates, like it literally pulsates. We call
Mhm.
them downloads and we say, well, they come down. They actually come through. They come through
Right.
the heart. And the mental plane, like the thinking mind, the head is really a data processor. It processes
Right.
information. That's its job. And so if the information that it's processing is distorted, then that's what filters through, and it's distorted, and we end up creating from a distorted perspective.
Mhm.
But if the thinking brain, the actual physical thinking brain, is looking at, so it really depends where you're looking. If it's looking at true information and it peels away, and we've all heard about this peeling away of the layers of the distortion, then it's doing its job. And I often love to say that if you give them the mind a worthier task than you've been giving it, like, caving, enrolling in the old paradigm, in the old programming, in the distorted way that you've been perceiving the world, because that's how you've been taught. When you give the mind a worthier task of tuning in to the truth, then your mind and your heart, now there's flow, because, and that's what you're referring to, is that flow of energy, that flow of insight and ideas and perspectives that are aligned with the larger heart, the larger beating heart of the universe. And and the second piece to this is that because we're humans inside of a physical vessel here, we have to learn to ground what comes through, because so often, and I see this all the time with entrepreneurs, spiritual entrepreneurs, soul-led entrepreneurs, creatives, artists,
Mhm.
authors, who get all these downloads and don't necessarily ground into them, and or allow those downloads, that wisdom, to ground into the body, and literally like feet in the grass, ground in, and therefore integrate. So you receive all this information and you feel transformed, but you haven't integrated it. And so that's where the coming into the body is, and bringing this information into the body so your body believes you, is so relevant. So these affirmations that how you read a quote or an affirmation and you resonate and you go, oh yeah, like that really feels so right. And and or cliches or quotes, and they're cliches for a reason, because at some point in time they downloaded through someone who was in such a resonant state that the words were crisp and clear and true. And so in the heart language and heart expansion work, we're looking at tuning into our own clear language of truth, of resonance, and creating our own mantras, our own affirmations that our body can then believe. So we're not just looking at these quotes, scrolling through and going, oh yeah, that really resonates. And it's so funny, if you see any of these posts that have this really powerful quote, people will say,
Mhm.
oh, that so resonates. Oh, yes, for sure. Yes, I agree. And how do you take that deeper? How do you bring it into the full spectrum, the heart, mind, and body? So there's the grounding piece. And when you're grounded in this wisdom, that and the expression is able to flow through effortlessly and uninterrupted, is when your gifts are brought out into the world at the next level. It's when you begin to really master your craft. and land in a new place of success, and feel that abundance that's coming through, that is really, really fulfilling, rather than abundance coming in the form of money and then still feeling like there's
Empty.
something missing.
And being able to appreciate abundance in all
Mhm.
its forms rather than just in a one narrow channel, because abundance comes to us every day in
Mhm.
so many ways, but we're so focused on, it's got to show up in XYZ
Yeah. Yeah.
pattern, or I refuse to recognize it. And it's really a choice that we have, or
Mhm.
we can recognize the abundance that exists around us, or we can say, nope, I only have this small tube that I'm going to accept abundance through. Push through
Yeah.
lots.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way.
And that comes from here. That's the limitation, right? Like that's that linear plane, that mental plane that is limited, because it's like it lives in a silo. And I love what you're saying about this appreciation, because this is an example of a heart key, like the key of gratitude. When you open that key of gratitude in your heart, it literally unlocks a field of deep appreciation. And it's not, it's a felt, it becomes a living, feeling intelligence in your body. So you're living as gratitude. And this is, there's just so much available when you're living in gratitude. You're not just experiencing seeing short glimpse of it, but you're having gratitude last and simmer and expand and ripple out into the rest of your life. And then you begin to notice all the small tiny moments and the small tiny miracles that exist everywhere, which then expands more and draws more to you to be grateful for. So I love that you brought that in. It's such a powerful, powerful key.
It is. I was thinking about my walk through the woods over the weekend. My husband and I have decided we're going to be hikers. So every Sunday,
Good
his
for
job is to
you.
find the hike. My job's to show up with the sandwiches. So we went to this place, and the locals all know about it, but we'd never been there. And it starts out, you're walking through this magical forest, beautiful pine trees, a little bit dark, but you're just expecting elves to pop out at any moment. And then we wandered up the side of the mountain till we came to the aspens, and they're shimmering and making their little crispy, whispery noises. And the sun's filtering through, but it's kind of a little bit cloudy, but the big puffy clouds, the big white puffy clouds that are just like, they move in front of the sun to cool you off, but then they move away so you can enjoy the warmth. And we keep walking up this mountain. We find this spring. Spring is where the water comes up out of the ground. You can actually drink out of springs. You can't drink out of running water. You'll get giardia, but springs you can drink from. And where the spring comes out of the ground, you're at the top of the mountain and you can see forever. There's all these other mountain ranges. It was so beautiful and so panoramic that it seriously, I was crying. It was
I can
just
feel it right here in my body, the way you're describing
a
it.
magical moment. It was a magical morning. The whole thing was just like so spectacular.
Yeah. 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 Where do you live?
I live in Idaho. I live in
Oh,
Preston, Idaho.
yes. I get it. Like I get it. Those moments when we can really like integrate those moments, it can literally shift us on a cellular level. And the call is to, keep it, maintain it, bring it home with us, because it's so easy to have these glimpses of these magical experiences, which how you described it just gave me chills literally in my body. And when you can open your cells
Mhm,
to receive the beauty, the magic like that,
mhm.
it doesn't leave. And it's a practice, and that's one of the practices that we use, is the cellular wealth in embodiment method. And it's just so powerful, so powerful
It
and
is powerful
sustainable, lasting.
and to allow yourself time to appreciate instead of just always being, entrepreneurs also like to just like the harder I work, the faster I run.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything that's uh, fun or for me. I'm just going to focus on doing the tasks. You miss the joy of just being. And because of that, you're shutting yourself off to the abundance that's all around you and
Mhm.
the magic that happens when you just allow yourself to flow in the universe
Mhm.
and let things happen
Yeah.
as they're
And
going to happen.
yeah, exactly. And this is, herein lies the conundrum, where most, and this is, it's because we've been conditioned in our culture, in our, on this planet, in terms of, a lot of us have
Mhm.
been conditioned to, be in the chase, yet want the magic, yet want the relief, yet want the release, yet want the connection with what is so beautiful and what is truly divine. And the conundrum being, you know, being in that patterned behavior and not knowing how to break the pattern and yearn for that. And that's the split. That's where the split happens. And, it's, and we read about what's possible, and we do workshops about, changing your mindset, and we study, and we learn that this is what's needed. And yet the question remains, well, how? How do I get there? How do I do that? I want it. I keep wanting it. I keep I keep operating this way and wanting to be this way. I keep doing this and I keep wanting to be this. And how do you bridge those two things together? How do you bridge yourself as human with, as a divine being? How do you bridge heaven and earth?
I think people should call you. What do you think?
Absolutely. And people who do, their lives transform in an undeniable way. um yeah, and as a result, everything in the external begins to just ripple, and opportunities come, and clients come, and money comes, and the joy is just, it penetrates into your being. And it's not to say that you don't have hard times and you don't come face to face with challenges and loss and grief, but there's a way to move through duality and these polarities in life in a more neutral way, and reduce the time and intensity of the spiraling, because your cellular memory has begun to practice remembering gratitude, remembering the joy, remembering the um, life affirming perspective that counters the fear. And yesterday I did a card reading, and the card, I made these cards myself, but the card was perspective
I love that.
yesterday. And how do we shift that? So absolutely. Yeah, I love working in this realm with people and witnessing massive change.
How do you actually work in this realm with people? Is it one-on-one communities? Do you have workshops? How does all that look?
Both. I have my premium one-on-one, excuse me,
Mhm.
I have my premium one-on-one focused work that I do with people. I have a mastermind, and I have um, a group experience where I take people through an experience for 3 months that prepares them and gives them the fundamental skills needed to be able to, do this work and apply it into their lives. And so it's a hybrid where it's a group program with a hybrid personalized boxer support with me so that they receive both. And I have a master class coming up next week. I don't know when this will be aired, but this master class will be remaining available. And it is a heart expansion experience, which will be a hybrid master class and call with me, a support call with me. And I have a Facebook group, a free Facebook group for people to come in where I offer trainings that are very powerful and do some heart key readings, collective readings as well. So I think that kind of covers it right now. Mm-hmm.
And people can find you by going to your website,
Mm-hmm.
which has your Facebook community on there, or shall I put your Facebook community in the show notes as well so people can find you there too?
If you can put my Facebook community in the show notes, my Facebook community is on my website, but at the very bottom. And yes, my website, and reach out to me on Facebook, message me on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm there. I do use LinkedIn as well, so you can message me privately and let me know what it is that your questions are, and I'm happy to have conversation with you for sure.
Awesome. And you have a podcast, Conversations with Jewel, and you also have a book,
Yes,
True Gifts.
yes,
So
yes. I do. I have a podcast, Conversations with Jewel. I'm in season 2 right now, the 12th episode, and we've been having some wonderful conversations. It's a solo conversation podcast at the moment, and I've been recording some interviews and conversations with people that are coming up in the near future. And I wrote this book in 2021 called True Gifts: Ignite Your Soul Magic and Monetize the Highest Expression of Your Purpose. And the book is written in workshop format, so to speak. So a lot of reflective guided exercises and questions to just to begin to open you up to the heart realm. Yeah.
I love that. So I've really enjoyed this conversation, and
Me
I'd like
too.
to ask you, what's the one thing you hope the audience takes away from the conversation we've had today?
Based on what's here right now, what I desire for people to take away is trust in the simplicity of what your heart knows. We just make everything so complicated, and it's in the simplicity that the power lives, this pure power, this still power in the central portal of your heart, and you will be changed.
I love that. Thanks for joining me, Jewel.
Thank you so much, Jill. I appreciate your invitation to have this chat today. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for joining us for the You World Order Showcase podcast. Remember, if you would like to be featured on this podcast as a life, health, or transformational coach, please visit www.jointheyouworldorder.com. We look forward to talking to you next time as we present another life, health, or transformational coach being the change they seek in the world.